Hi there, this is Robin Andrews from Computer Academy, and today we're going to continue exploring the Python Turtle Graphics module, and in particular we're going to look at the screen. So I'm going to start a new file, new file, and straight away I'm going to do Save As, and save it on my desktop as screen. And you can add the .py or not, whichever you prefer. Idle takes care of that. Okay, so we're going to import our module, import the turtle module, and straight away we're going to make a screen. So we're going to do screen equals turtle dot screen. Okay. So we've now got a screen that we can refer to. And then these are a few little commands with the screen that you might not know, which are very useful. So you can do screen dot setup, and you can actually pass it some dimensions. So you can pass it width. Say we want 500 by 400. Okay, and then remember, you always want turtle.done or one of the equivalents, but I like to just stick to turtle.done. Okay, so let's just run that. And you can see here we have a turtle graphics screen of the dimensions we specified. So that's pretty handy. Let's just change that. So we want something bigger. So we want 800 by, say, 600. Just to show that this does actually work. And you see you have a bigger screen there. So that's one thing, very useful. Another thing, oh yeah, I don't want to do that. I just want to minimize that actually. We can actually have an offset for our window. But before we do that, let's just make it a bit more colorful actually. So let's do screen.bg color, and we'll do, I don't know, red maybe. Okay, and then we can look at offset. So the first two arguments of screen.setup are the width and the height, but we can also have an offset. So if we want it in the top left corner, we can do this. So 0, 0, that's in relation to your desktop screen. Okay, so it comes out at 0, 0. So you can change that to, say you want it much further over. You could do something like starting at 600 and maybe a little bit down. So maybe 400 down. And you can see here, so you get some control over where the window appears, which is very useful, and also over the background color. Now, there's a little trick that I want to show you, which is quite fun. So we're going to create a function. Let's do that at the top after the import, so that's the correct place for functions. Def, and we'll call it something like move screen. Okay, so we don't need any arguments. We're going to have a global value here, and I'm not going to go into details about what they mean and why you shouldn't use them, or why you might sometimes. Just going to use it. We'll call it offset. Okay. So then within our function, we're going to do screen.set up. I want to add some parameters in a minute, but I'll just get rid of those ones because we're not going to use those. So we're going to do width. Oh, sorry, not width. I want an actual value. So I want something like, let's do 500 by 500. Okay, nice square window. And then the offset. So you're going to have offset and offset. Okay, so if you imagine how this is going to work, we're going to get this kind of diagonal movement down the screen because we're going to modify the offset. And then we're going to do turtle.dot, and it's going to take the offset. Okay, so that's going to be what gets displayed in the window. And then we're going to increase the offset, so we're going to do offset plus equals 10, so we'll make it grow by 10 pixels. And then we need to have some kind of limit on this, so we're going to say if offset is less than something like 250 pixels. It's going to make more sense when you see it, obviously. Then we're going to do this. Basically, it looks like a recursive function. If you know what recursion is, if you don't worry at all. But we're going to call this function after a certain amount of time has passed. So we're going to do screen.ontimer. So when a timer has reached, I'll talk about that parameter next. First of all, the function we call is the name of the function we want, okay? And then after a certain amount of milliseconds have passed, let's say 100 milliseconds, okay? Then we're gonna call it. This turtle is actually referring to a turtle we haven't created yet. So we can just call it turtle. Actually, I'm not going to call it turtle. It's a very bad habit to use a variable name that's the same as a module name. I'll just call it T for now, which is also a bad habit to have short variable names, but it's not as bad as duplicating. Or I could just tell you what, I'll do a much better thing. I'll just call it Bob. Okay, so Bob equals turtle dot turtle. Okay, notice the difference, lowercase. Turtle is the module name. Turtle with a capital T is the constructor. That's just the name of the class which you're creating an instance of, but don't worry about that if you don't know object-oriented programming. So we got Bob is that, and then it's actually going to be Bob that does the drawing here. Okay, so I think, I haven't defined the initial value for the offset. So let's have offset, and let's have it equal to say 50. Okay, that's a number of pixels. So let's see if that works. I'm always a little bit doubtful because there's so many little errors you can make, but let's see. Yeah, nothing at all. Completely useless. What happened there then? Oh yes, because I didn't call the initial. Okay, so within the call, within the function, there's a call to itself, okay? But we need to kick the whole process off by calling the function. So let's do that here. We're going to do move screen. Okay, let's see if that fixes it. I thought I pressed F5, but I pressed F6. There you go. Okay. Now that's pretty cool. It's not really much use in itself particularly, except that it illustrates a lot of concepts that you might use in your own Turtle graphics programs. Okay, so bit of fun, a few concepts. Let's just look at those concepts briefly. So we know about, I do want 2 lines actually. We know about importing modules. We know about defining functions, hopefully. This might be new, so screen.ontimer. I'm now going to turn on my line numbers while I think of it, because it's so useful when making videos. Yeah, so on line 13, we're actually calling the function from which we're making the call. So it looks like recursion, but it doesn't actually create any problems with stacks, with frame stacks and things like that. It's just designed to work like that. So don't worry if none of that makes sense. It's just how you do it. So we also have a global variable because we need to modify it, because obviously it would be created each time that the function was called if it wasn't global. So you wouldn't be able to update it. It would always just have an original value, if that makes sense. So that's why that's made global. So when it gets modified within the function, it also gets modified outside of the function. So when we get to that line again on line 10, sorry, when we get to that line where we use it, which is line 7, the first place we use it, it will actually have been updated in the global scope. Okay, so that's quite a big concept. If you haven't done any work with global variables, then this is one way of looking at them. And you might need to do lots of different examples to really get your head around how that works. So I find this interesting, the way you can have a very simple program and actually it can cover a lot of kind of learning points and concepts and techniques that you may use in your own programs. So that's it. Just run it one more time so you can see it in all its glory. Okay, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.